Vatican, the Boy Scouts, over and over again. And I'm not saying the Boy Scouts are bad. This is where the predators go, because then once it's a big organization, it's got power, and nobody's going to want to blow the whistle because it's going to damage people. Yeah, 5,000 child molesters, the U.S. Scout movement's guilty secret, the ongoing cover-up. Meanwhile, the DA who refused to ever indict in 94, 2000, 2002, the grand juries told no bill, even though they had total evidence of this going on. These people would deliver their kids to this to go meet the coach, and boy, it was, you know, and reportedly the donors, and it was gang rape. I mean, it was boy rape all the way, New World Order. He went missing in 2005. Wonder if he's wearing cement shoes after he helped cover stuff up. We know he killed the investigations. I mean, they're talking about kids rioting because the coach is fired. He is an accomplice because he knew about this over a decade ago. He deserves to spend the rest of his miserable crone monster. He looks like a, you know, the portrait of Dorian Gray or something. It's just incredible. So you got the DA, you know, wearing cement shoes probably. Let's go ahead and play. Let's go back and since you had that article up, let's show the youth out there rioting, tumbling over vehicles, attacking police because they're God, what they exist for. The demonic hunchback creature that covered this up got fired. Now these young people are all making themselves basically accomplices to a degenerate pedophile ring. And again, even if the head coach wasn't involved in it, the point is he knew about it, so that makes him an accomplice. Okay? I walk into some public shower or field house shower and somebody's raping a kid. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to beat the living snot out of them. That's not because I'm some tough guy. Instantly, it's clobbering time. And see, that's why we're such slaves. The fact that I'm seen as a weirdo because I want to attack child molesters and my instinct is to literally stomp their guts out. I'm bad because I have an instinct to defend the youth of our species. As any animal does. You mess with some raccoon in your backyard, push it away from the dog food, it won't get mad. You go over to its little baby that's sitting behind, the raccoon will attack you. Raccoons will kill large dogs. They'll chew their throats out. They'll get them in water and push their heads in because you're messing with their baby. They've taken our basic instinct. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I could beat the living hell out of 20 pedophiles right now. Line up these potbelly pieces of crap. I'm going to tear their jaws off their heads. I'm going to ram their noses off. I'm going to knock their teeth out. Okay? That's a normal, good, healthy instinct. Instead, people walk in, see this reportedly over and over again, and don't do jack squat. Our basic survival instinct has been eradicated. All right, let's go to the Washington Times. I can go on for 10 hours here. Homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan Bush. Call boys took midnight tour of the White House. Then it happened again with Jeff Gannon, the White House press corps, the male madam under George W. Bush. Remember that? The hundreds of call boys visiting. Barney Frank, underage call boys out of his house. Remember all that? It goes on and on. Remember the New York Post? Chad Savage and others flown into Bohemian Grove to be valets of the world leaders and the Christian conservative leaders? I mean, again, this is all about compromising them. Nixon, it's coming up in the clip, told Harper's, you know, that he had to basically go to this to be part of the establishment, and he hated it. Again, they just think up the worst crap they can, make you wallow in it, and they go, well, now we can trust you. It's kind of like the mafia says you got to kill somebody, you know, before you're a made man. You got to be Sicilian. You got to kill somebody. Well, then people go, I'll up that. You want to join this Mexican mafia group? You got to go kill an innocent old person. And other groups are like, well, we'll outdo that. The Russian mafia. Some groups say you got to kill a little kid. I mean, that's all this is. It's just a bunch of mafia crap. And I'm sick of you scum. You're a bunch of pot-bellied trash, and it's time you be brought down. And I see you, and I know what you are. All right, let's get, I don't know what it is. I've just seen CPS and pedophile groups. I've covered them. I've watched them, and it's always like a Nelly potbelly. And I mean, it's just like, oh, there you are. You're a maggot demon. They're like, I have the government on my side. We'll get your guns. I mean, you know, that's who these people are. And you put up with them. They're a bunch of vampires. So we went over a lot of that. I have another report here. This is out of MSNBC. Mental health worker who reported child porn fired. We're not allowed to go public unless actual child abuse is observed. And now they've got this thing where the government's only recruiting pedophiles at many levels, so they're now allowed to have the child porn. Anybody that reports it is fired. So we've got that report. Let's go ahead and again, we have the audio of the youth rioting because their God, the the alleged child abuse helper. But again, there's a huge cover-up of this. Witnesses, it's clear it went on. And it fits the same MO. It doesn't matter. We have to play it with audio. I played it on the radio today. We're going to go ahead now and go to this clip from Jason Burmis. He directed it. I produced it. Invisible Empire. It's available on DVD, getting into the history of the elite, their mindset, their worldviews, knowing your enemy. We also have another deal where you can get 18 of my films on DVD for $99.95. No one offers 18 films for that. We're basically getting this out there after production costs and everything at cost. $99.95, because I know everything's falling apart right now. You can take care of all your holiday Christmas shopping right now. 18 films, give them to your friends and family. $99.95, a $259 discount off the $359 regular price. That's all available right now at INFOWARS.com or call 888-253-3139. Here's a segment from Jason Burmis's Invisible Empire that I hope you get and show at your church and get out to folks, that deals with the Franklin cover-up and more. This is key information that's been well documented, and it just shows exactly the type of evil demons that are running our society. And you ignore this at your own peril. Then we'll come back with a former Nacogdoches Sheriff's Deputy and Patriot Crusader winning a lot of cases against local Constitution criminals. Folks violate the Constitution. Eddie Craig, it's InfoWars Nightly News. Stay with us.
Why are Christian conservatives such as the Bushes and Newt Gingrich attending the Grove?
And I recognize I'm not going to be invited to Renaissance Weekend or that Bohemian deal where Newt, Rush, and Dick all sit in a teepee naked beating on tom-toms.
Why does the media barely mention the Grove? Because many of them are in attendance. Late political cartoonist Phil Frank of the San Francisco Chronicle draws a reporter thinking about his loyalties to Bohemian Grove as he takes notes for a story.
Stories about what happens in these redwoods are hard to come by. A campground statue reminds Bohemians to keep their mouths shut about the Grove.
Many world events have been shaped at the Grove, including the creation of the atomic bomb.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb.
Every Republican president since Calvin Coolidge has been a member, as well as many Democrats, including Jimmy Carter.
If you look at the membership lists of the Bohemian Grove and the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, a lot of the key level people are overlapping and are involved in numerous groups.
In addition to pagan rituals that take place there, this all-male club also deals with darker themes through the plays Montezuma, which feature Aztec human sacrifice, and Faust, which feature Mephisto. Some of these plays are disturbingly flamboyant. Many of the elitists have a penchant for cross-dressing and singing show tunes. Perhaps that is why much of the all-male staff also happen to be homosexuals.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, in 1980, the popular button was Free the Fortune 500.
Bohemian Grove that I attend one time at a time. It is the most faggot goddamn thing you will ever imagine.
In 2004, the New York Post reported that gay porn star Chad Savage would be servicing moguls at the Bohemian Grove. In recent years, several politicians have been outed in scandals, including Senator Larry Craig, who tried to solicit sex from an undercover officer in 2007. Even more shocking, it was revealed in 2004 that right-wing blogger James Guckert, who had unprecedented access to the White House during the Iraq War, was actually Jeff Gannon, a madam and male prostitute for MilitaryStuds.com. During his 2 years writing for GOP USA and Talon News, Gannon officially made over 200 appearances at the White House. Oddly enough, over 24 of these visits would take place when there were no scheduled briefings. He failed to check in or out with the Secret Service on many other occasions, coming and going as he pleased. These type of activities are not new to the White House. In 1989, headlines involving callboys in the White House rocked the cover of the Washington Times.
The Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a call boy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year.
Hundreds of credit card receipts obtained by the Washington Times confirm that its clients were key officials of the Reagan and Bush administrations, military officers, congressional aides, and U.S. and foreign businessmen with close social ties to Washington's political elite. This ring extended beyond the White House and into Congressman Barney Frank's bedroom.
Barney Frank, one of 2 openly homosexual members of Congress, acknowledged having used a male prostitute, whom he then hired as a personal employee. The man had keys to Frank's basement apartment on Capitol Hill. Frank paid him approximately $20,000 out of his own pocket to be his housekeeper and driver. But as first reported in today's Washington Times, the man was on probation for sex crimes and a drug conviction, and he ran a prostitution business out of Frank's home.
Although Frank tried to claim ignorance, Stephen Goby, the prostitute in question, claimed that Frank was completely aware of what was going on and was even receiving free and discounted sexual services. The fix seemed to be in. Frank was threatening members of Congress to remain silent prior to being exposed in this sex ring.
Massachusetts Democrat Barney Frank, a homosexual, threatened to expose fellow congressmen he knew to be gay unless they stopped spreading rumors.
Questions stopped and Frank walked away with a slap on the wrist. Some members of the Ethics Committee were disgusted.
Do we tolerate, do we condone a member of this body who knowingly permits a house of prostitution to be operated out of his residence?
You have just heard one of the most edited, selective garbage that has ever been put forth, in my opinion, in this House.
Again, we see people of the highest levels of power involved in the most repulsive and decadent of crimes.
They couldn't care less about the code of conduct that's taught in all major religions about treating others the way that you want to be treated. And then they masquerade, they put this false front on that they're like everybody else, because your average person wants to do right, believes in some sort of a karma, believes in some sort of a divine justice in the universe. And so these people need to put on this front that they're like the average Joe in middle America, that they go to church every once in a while, and that they believe in an afterlife and a divine justice. And so they have to put on this front that they're like everybody else in order to get elected and to be accepted and to not have people look at them suspiciously, because if somebody goes around and openly admits that they were an atheist or that they were of some obscure religion, people aren't going to throw their support behind them as much, and they're not going to trust them as easily.
The reality of this behavior is never revealed to the public, as the media keeps any revelations quiet. Unfortunately, these type of activities continue to this day. Florida Congressman Mark Foley chaired the House caucus on missing and exploited children and went on television praising Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator series.
The Dateline piece has probably done more than any law we can create.
Foley was later caught attempting to have sexual relations with numerous underage pages.
Congressman Mark Foley, the man who championed the Child Protection Act of 2006.